Today, we're really just going to be focusing on this generate quote button. That's going to be the main focus of today, folks, is just going through that and kind of how to modify this from what you already have. So if you have a generate document button, and for those of you who are not used to new forms yet, we're not either. So bear with us as we kind of fumble along through this a bit. But if I go into this button, you're going to hit the field settings from the new forms. You might see that I have a bunch of extra parameters in here. So let me just quickly show you where I got these from. So rather than me going straight to our help site, because I do have it bookmarked here, let me go to our website first. So if you go to juicetech.com, you can easily find help in the top right corner here. So I'm just going to click on help, and it's going to redirect me right to our help site page. And you'll notice we have a little bit of information for all of our add-ons, but specifically Exact Forms Plus has a ton of information. And where I'm really going to be navigating to today is this formula URL parameters page. This includes a pretty in-depth breakdown of every single one of the parameters available. And, we do have our basic parameters in here. So if I were to open this up, really everything above, here is probably included in our basic parameters. So you have client ID, app ID, table DB ID, TP ID, all things that if you review our past videos, we've gone over pretty much in depth. So I'm not going to go through all those today. Today's going to be more of a session to go through parameters you may have never used before and how you can add those to get more value out of the Exact Forms Plus buttons that are already in your application. And for those of you who are not using Exact Forms Plus or are interested and you want to learn more about the basics, I do strongly recommend reviewing our YouTube channel. We have many office hours in the past where I go through more of a 101 of the parameters. This is more of a 201. Some may even call this an advanced session. I don't necessarily think so. It's all things that you guys should be able to digest and you may find useful for yourselves in the future. So let's kind of just jump right into it. So you may see the very first one that I'm going to talk about, and this is one that we're actually releasing for Excel docs, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, is this FN RID. And I actually believe it might even be ready. I know Todd's not on this call, but I know he's been steadfast working on that. So what FN RID does, it essentially allows you to take the record ID out of your finished file name. So let's go ahead and let me comment out all this other nonsense right now because we're going to get to all of it. And I don't want to overwhelm everyone with too much information at first. All right, so those are all the extra ones. But now we have FNRID. So the way I put that in is I essentially took a look at this and saw the example, and I see FNRID equals N, and that's going to take out that record ID. So I really should just have it be named quote. FN file name is equal to quote. And of course, I just followed the same structure as the other parameters. So I did ampersand, then space, quote, ampersand, and then the example I got right from our help site page. Threw it right in there and did it with another quote. So now when I hit save, now I will warn you folks, I believe I do have a specific setting on for Expire URL. So if I get an error message here, bear with me, I do, okay. The Expire URL parameter is required and not passed in. So we'll have to go ahead and jump right to that one as that is a setting we turned on. So let me just backtrack for a second. And we will go ahead and start off then with our Expire URL. Oh boy. All right. Take a second. We're going to pause back. We'll get back to the FNRID in a moment. Let me comment that one out. Right now, we're focusing on lines 15 and 16. So what we have in here is we have a new parameter that you guys probably have never used called XID. And let's scroll all the way to the bottom of this page where you will find XID. Here we are. So what XID does, it expires the URL after you use it one time. And this is a great security feature to use. And it actually says, contact us for more information and a sample of the formula URL code. So I made this EFP token field, and I'm going to share with you guys that today. But one thing I also want to note is if you're going to use XID, which we do recommend you do if you have specific security requirements, You do need to contact us, as we do need to turn that on at an application level. So that is why you're seeing that error from before, and why I now have to use it on this application, this Workflow Wednesday app. So what I did was I pretty easily added this XID, and then I made this EFP token field, which I'll show you in a moment. And then I have this additional parameter called XID expire message. So XID EXP expire message. And I just said, hey, this document is not valid anymore. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that's going to look like now that I refresh this. And I actually want to show you guys from maybe the quotes level. And I think the quotes level may be a better place to see this, because you'll actually be able to see it expire. So let me scroll all the way to the right where I got that purple button hidden. And I'm going to go ahead and hit generate. Now, Expire URL Parameter is not passed in. I thought I just did that. And I didn't save. Guys, don't follow my lead too closely. All right, let's try that again. You know what? That's good. We didn't refresh, because that shows exactly what I'm going to be doing in a second. Let's refresh this damn page and scroll over. One more try. That's good. All right. So you can see, just by me doing that, I now have a lot of jargon up here for document ID. And now I was able to generate my document, no problem. But if I come back here, you notice I didn't refresh this page. So what XID essentially does is it uses a structured token, which is going to be unique every single time. And I can show you guys what that formula is behind the scenes. But it's essentially saying, if that token does not match the token that's being passed in, then cancel this document. So I'm going to go ahead and hit generate again. And I can almost guarantee that this is no longer going to work. And it does not. So you can see that no documents were generated. Hey, this document is not valid anymore. So that's exactly how you want to use XID. It's just an added level of security that you have with Exact Forms Plus, where if you don't want anyone to be able to generate a document after a certain point, they will not be able to. So you're able to generate once. If you don't hit refresh, it'll never generate again. So let me quickly show you this EFP token so you guys have an idea. And this is certainly a little intimidating, and we'd be happy to share this formula with you guys after. You don't necessarily need to use this formula, but this is kind of how we're getting it for this specific example. So I'm going to go ahead and close that out, and I'll be happy to share that with you guys in the future. So that's why we have XID, and that's one parameter, XID and XID expire message, that we wanted to share with you today. Another one, now that we have that back in, is the FNRID, which is what I originally wanted to show you guys just a moment ago. So I'm going to uncomment that one out. As you just know, I just spoke about what it's going to do. It's going to take out the record ID. And what you might even be able to see if I hit refresh here is that latest document does have 8 in it. And most likely all of you guys at one point or another have had a record ID in this, and you might not want it. So if you take that FNRID, you put its N, and I hit save. And if I go generate this quote again, instead of it having 8, it's just going to say quote. Alexa, sorry, just seeing that now. Are there ones that can expire a certain number of times, not just one? That's a good question. Are you saying that you only want them to be able to generate it X amount of times, and if it goes over that amount of generations, don't expire it again? I'll have to get a little bit more detail to kind of what exactly you want. I'm gonna say we can do it, but I would like to know a little bit more, Alexis, if you don't mind throwing it in the chat. But you can see that now I generated this document again with FNRID on. And if I hit refresh, you're going to see that the new Exact Forms Plus document field just shows quote. And if I look at this, you can see kind of the same one. We just took out that record ID number. So again, we have this available right now, and we'll have this available for you guys for Excel docs, hopefully by the end of the month. Yes, curiosity thing, I don't have a specific use case for it at the moment, that they can generate the document, say, 4 times. You know, that's a good idea. Alexis, we'll have to research kind of what the best way it would be to go about doing that. I almost feel like we can, but I will have to get back to you. And maybe through what we showed today, I'll figure out exactly one way to do it. But because there's a lot of parameters we're going to go through adding today. So let me think about that one. But that's a good question, and I appreciate the participation. Um, so just to continue on, we do have that FN already out. So let's go ahead and look at what we can add next. So let's go ahead and open this button back up. And let's see. All right. The next one that we're going to add is something that you may or may not want. We add it automatically if you've ever used our test mode parameter, which I've shown in the past. But this is our watermark parameter. So right now, if I turn this back on, I'm going to put a nice big red watermark across this that says draft. So if I wanted to say, instead of draft, if I wanted to say, office hours, I could put that in there and I can keep it as red, and maybe I want it at 75. So let's go ahead and hit save. And let's show how that's going to look. Now, again, if you wanted to know where would I find that, how would I know that's available, you can look at our available parameters, again, from the formula URL parameters page. And you can see WM is watermark. And you can see I also took the example straight from there. So then you could take this example and modify it to be of your own. So let's go ahead, and now that I saved that, let's generate it with the watermark. And here we go. Now we have office hours going across in nice big red ink. So that's one way you can have a watermark on it. That is potentially a great idea if you're maybe providing samples of a proposal, or you're making a quote that you don't necessarily want to be live. So if you want to put something on it that's going to say this is a draft, or this is just tentative on some sort of agreement, you can put information in there just to make this clear as day that this is not valid yet, or you just want to have your company's information across it. And this will go on every page as well. So that's a great tidbit to keep in mind. But we have more to show. So let's go back into this again. Anyone else like that they open it up in a new page every time you hit field settings? I end up with 100 tabs open every day now. And these next parameters, 10, 11, 12, you guys should all have these by default. These are default parameters. Again, we have gone over all these in the past, so don't necessarily worry about them now. I believe Justin sent in old videos that you could review. Only things here that I would recommend changing is FAID and EFP, DTE, file attachment field, and date field. If you ever want to save it to a different field, you're just going to update these field ID numbers. But again, not necessarily recommended unless you're changing things around in your app. But this new one here, UID, let's uncomment that out. So what does UID do? So let's go ahead and take a look at UID. So UID is a cool one. It allows the ability to update a field on the master table with the user who generated the document. So this came up in the past where clients were asking us, well, I really want to know who generated the document. And there's really no good way to do that because current user that we get comes from the individual who provided us the user token. So all of our add-ons utilize a user token. And because of that, you have to use this parameter to actually know who made the specific document. So in this use case, this is putting in an example, field 99 set to user to email user, current user. So the target field in this is 99. In my example, it's 111. So we're saying, okay, populate field 111 with the current user. So let's go back, take a look. You could actually see that Keith was the user who generated it. So let's see, I'm logged in as me. I believe now that I turn that back on, if I were to hit this, and let me just go ahead and hit save. Don't make the same mistake twice. And let's hit generate. Again, you saw that it was Keith. Let's go ahead. Again, generate the same document, cool and all. Let's hit refresh. And now you see that it was me. So that's a cool, quick and easy way to kind of get a little bit more transparency to who's actually generating these documents on your end, and will make your life potentially easier as well when using this in a formula, maybe you want to include it in JuSign. If you're going to have JuSign and you want to have the person who generated the document be the one who's sending it out, this is a quick and easy way to feed this information into JuSign, the sending email. So here you go, JuSign sender email. So maybe, and I didn't even set this up, but we'll go ahead and give it a try. Maybe we want to have the JuSign sender email be updated by whomever is the user who generated the EFP document. So let's go ahead and look at additional parameters that can do that. Now we have something called upmap. So let's go ahead and scroll in on that one a little bit. So upmap, we see is 110 and 33. So what does upmap do? So upmap is going to allow you to update additional fields on the master table based off of the document that's getting generated right now. So some people have used an API edit record to do this in the past. That's not necessarily always recommended. If you're going to do that, you're going to want to add an app token as well. And that's kind of additional code that's not necessarily supported by Exact Forms Plus, but it's available to you. So let's go ahead and let's just use something that is supported, and let's use it, the way that it's kind of intended. So right now, this is the example. It's saying, let's update field 60 with 59 and 61 with 33. So I want to follow this format. And right now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to update the phone number in 110. So, oops. So we're saying 110 is going to get updated by 33. So let me change 33 right now so you guys can see that update happen. And I'm scrolling all the way down. Let's just change the related client for a second because I believe that's going to have a better phone number in there. All right, so now we changed that phone number, so let's hit save. Why did it take me out of the record? I don't know. So now we have client phone number in 33, and we're going to update this client phone number separately. And maybe we want to use one for text by QB. We want to have whatever the most current number is. So we want to override that field if they don't match. So now when I go and hit generate for this one, I'm going to be utilizing upmap to update that field. Again, we have 110 to 33. Let's go ahead and hit generate. And again, the generating of the document portion, of course, is very important, but that's not necessarily what we're focusing on today. These are really more additional features, additional ways you can utilize Exact Forms Plus to get even more value out of the add-on and for the Quickbase platform. So now you can see before I refresh, we have this phone number is going to be populating this one here. I'm going to hit refresh. Oh, did I not do that right? One more time, maybe. 33 to 110. And I did not save. You guys, I'm getting bad with this. Save. Sorry about that, guys. Told myself I wouldn't make the same mistake twice. I did. I think that might have even been 3 times for those of you who are counting. But anyway, regenerate the document again. Let's hit refresh again. And there you go. So you have the phone number here that generated. It's going to update here. So hopefully that makes sense. I know that was a little jumbled up there, but you can see that 33 did update 110. And again, why does it not show? But there you go, 110. So that's upmap. And just one way that I could also use this is if I want to do a secondary field, like I was mentioning for JuSign, let me go back into the formula. Let's find out what field ID this is. So 64, and I want to have it updated by 111. So let's do this. So let's do, I think we said it was pipe delimited. So let's do 111, oh, one more, colon 64. And again, the way I'm doing this is based off of what we have here. So I'm just following the example. If you wanted to do a third one, you would just do another pipe. So we have 111 is going to be updated by 64, or other way around. 111 is going to update 64. And let's go ahead one more time, and let's take my name now and update it where Justin's is for the JuSign sender email. So again, the use case here would be you want whomever the individual is that's generating the document to be the one that's sending it out. And again, this would work as well with DocuSign. Our DocuSign integration works pretty much the same way. So I generated that document. I'm going to hit refresh. And now 64. I'll be really upset with myself if I didn't save again. So 64. And this is 111. Let's go take a look. 111, 64. How about we do this? Maybe I have it backwards. All right, let's try that. I saved that time, right, guys? I think so. Just double check. Okay, it's not there. Let's go ahead and press it again. 64 cannot be modified. Field name juicer. Well, I wasn't expecting that. Let's go ahead and say that's not required. And I'm gonna have to move on if I can't figure that out in a second. Oh, it's a formula field. All right, well, that would do it. So anyway, if you're gonna be using it, then I would recommend not using a formula field. However, in this case, it is a formula field. We cannot update that. So that is a correct error. My bad for trying to show something on the spot, but that is by design with Quickbase. So kudos to them. They did that right. So I will just comment that out maybe. And close that back up. Alrighty, actually, let's just take it out altogether. Moving on. So now that we did UID, upmap, we did XID, which is the expire URL, and the expire URL message. Now we have what I personally think is really an underdog here. We have doc PW and doc PWO. And let's go ahead and see what these do. So if you go back into the formulas, let's scroll all the way to the bottom. And let's take a look at doc PW. So essentially what this is doing is saying for a PDF, you're going to require a password before you can view the document. And that's pretty cool too, because you might not want everyone in your organization to be able to open that document. It could be very critical. There could be, PII in there, depending on what it is. So this is a great use case for including that. And the other one we have is doc PWO, which essentially allows you to stop people from printing or saving the document. So I think, or actually, I'm sorry, printing or editing the document. I think they can still save. So let's close that out. Enough of seeing Justin. Sorry, Justin, didn't mean that.
That hurts.
Enough of that. But so now we have doc PW and doc PWO. So let's see. I made the password ABC123, keeping it very secure out here. That is a very good password. And let's go ahead and hit generate. All right, and there it is. So now you can see this document is password protected. Please enter password. So ABC123, enter, and there's my document. So super simple. We don't need to overcomplicate it. And that's one way, again, to increase the security of your Exact Forms Plus document. These are additional parameters that we're not including by default, but are always available to you. So all you really have to do is know that you have this Exact Forms Plus formula URL page that you can go and navigate to get more information. And again, I generated that quote. Let me see if I hit print. Oh, no, that shouldn't allow me to do it. Let's see. Let's go back. Let's shut off the PW. I believe since I have the password, it's allowing me to do it. Let's see. I should not be able to print. Let's see. Okay. And there you go. Now I'm clicking like crazy. No print allowed. So I think when you include the password, and we did include the password there, it will allow you to print if you have it on, because then you have the password. But if you want to include it where they can just kind of preview this document and that's it, then yes, you can shut off the print like that. And again, I'm clicking like crazy. So that's how you can do that. That's a quick and easy way, again, to make this just a bit more secure. And again, you don't necessarily have to use any of these parameters. These are just available to you. So I wanted to make sure we spoke to them. Now, we're about at the half-hour mark, and I went through all the parameters I had pre-set up. There are plenty of additional repository parameters, although I do believe I've shown that in the past, but I would be happy to go over that again today. And then there's also some, additional potential merge parameters that we can show. I'm not going to go into anything with Dropbox or Amazon S3. That's a whole separate conversation. But for those of you who may be interested, I would be more than happy to schedule either a one-on-one demo or another office hours where we go more in depth into Exact Forms Plus with Amazon S3 or with Dropbox or with Google Drive as we're getting there. So happy to do that as well. So based off of everything I just showed now, I do want to pause for a moment and kind of give you guys an opportunity to ask any questions now before I continue. All right. All that loud talking. Oh, Alexis, thank you for helping us out here. Parameter that shows the user generating the document. It will only show the last user, right? Correct. It will only show the last user that generated the document. However, I believe we can probably use some sort of pipeline that would update a user-generated table, let's just say, and that can take that information and say, okay, when a user generates a document for X record, go update another table, which then logs, okay, Matthew generated record ID 8 at 2:30 in the afternoon. And then Matt generated, record ID 8 at 2:31. And you can see if someone has a habit of maybe generating documents over and over and over again, that could be a way also to potentially temper your transaction count if you can find maybe potential outliers who are maybe using things incorrectly. So I do definitely recommend using that one if you see a use case for it. Yeah, no, thank you for participating. And I have not forgotten about your other question when you were talking about the Expire URL. I think that's a great idea. If we can't do it right now, I definitely would want to be able to do it. I think it's a great suggestion. So for those of you who may not have been here or missed it, we went over the XID, which is the Expire token. And essentially what Alexis had asked is there a way to limit the number of times that you expire? So maybe you can do it 1, 2, or 3 times, excuse me, but after that it stops. It's a great idea. We do that for our juice sign right now. You can only open up a yet to be signed document about 3 times, I believe it is, before you can, do it. I can see a stronger use case based on a timed window. I do also think that is in place, Alexis. I think if I had it open and let's go ahead and try this. I believe this is going to work right now, but I've been known to say things and not be correct in the past, but let's go ahead and try it anyway. I believe if I'm going to open this up right now and I generate this document. Now this is essentially going to just show me kind of a preview. And yes, I do still have the password on. So ABC123, most secure password of them all. But if I were to make changes to this based off of the EFP token that I created, which is using basically the EFP date field, if I were to make additional changes to this document, and if I were to go, actually even more so, if I were to do this, which is if I go to quotes, because now I think this will still work because this is pointing at just a single document. But if I go back here, because you actually can't copy the button anymore, Quickbase, if you're listening. If I were to take this, right click, copy this link address, and let's say I open up a notepad and I say I'm going to take this home with me. If I put it in a notepad or something like that, and I want to have it maybe for later. So I just put that whole jumbled mess in there. If I were to go and generate the document, and then now I have that same link. So, whatever it is, ABC123. So I'm in. If I take that same link from before, and now I paste it again, this should not work. It doesn't, right? And that's because that link now immediately is expired. After you generate this that one time, because the date time field changed of the EFP document, it's no longer going to match, and you're not going to be able to generate it again unless you were to click the button. So it's a great security thing if you think that maybe someone could have sent this to their personal email address, and maybe they want to toy around and try to get in and potentially generate a different record, because this is record ID 8, and maybe they want to generate record ID 9 because they're trying to steal a sale from someone. I'm just hypothetical situations. That this is a way to stop people from accessing other documents that they may not have access to, or should not have access to, rather. So good way to do it. Again, this error message, you can put it in there however you want. I wrote, hey, this document is not valid anymore. That's just going behind the scenes of this. So super easy to change that to be whatever you'd like, and put that in there. Alrighty. Appreciate the participation, Alexis, and definitely going to talk with the developers here and just see kind of how else we can use this XID to become even more powerful and beneficial to our clients. We 100% thrive on feedback, so anything we could do to make Exact Forms Plus better, we would always appreciate it. All righty. Let me close out. Oh, I lost. Look at all these Workflow Wednesday links I've opened. I don't know whose idea that was. Oh, brother. All right. Back to the basics. Let's go back in and let's look at any other one we could add. And I did close out my help site page. Let's go back there. Again, for those of you who don't know, the help site page has lots of information for you guys, including additional URL parameters, which is what we're going over right now. So for the next 10 to 15 minutes-ish, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys potentially the repository parameters. I think that would be the most beneficial out of the add-on, out of the ones that I've already shown. I believe I've shown in other office hours the add files. In fact, I know I've showed add files in the past. Add files is a great one. That's probably one of the most popular additional parameters that people use that is not included with the additional setup. So if you don't know what add files are, strongly recommend going ahead and reading more about this. One thing that is new that a couple of our clients, and maybe you guys were some of them, had found out is recently we've actually put a limit on this to 10 additional files. You can see here that we can do it with delimited differently to have as many files as you can. In the past, we've had people kind of go a little crazy, so we had to put a limit on this for 10. If you guys want to do more than that, I recommend using either PDF merger or some of our merge parameters. It kind of exceeds the bounds of add files, and we're gonna work more efficiently and overall, for you guys by keeping it at 10. Same thing goes for pre-files, pre-pen. So the difference between add files and pre-files is pre-files will become the first document you see prior to your main document getting generated, where add files will become the second file you see. So that's just, we were asked if we can do pre-files, so we made that up as well. And again, this one also has a 10 file limit. If you're watching this and you've made it this far in, you probably can add both together and get 20, but let's just keep that to us. Again, we did go over watermarks. Embed fonts, I believe, is another thing I've went over in the past that will keep your PDF file size maybe a little bit larger, because we're going to be using more advanced fonts that you may be trying to use. So if you ever notice that your font types are not working out the way you're expecting, try throwing in embed fonts. That's a pretty easy way to do it. Accessibility. This is an interesting one as well. We had a specific client ask for this, and we of course want to meet any needs that our clients have asked for. So accessibility equals Y actually allows you to read aloud the document. So for people who may be vision or cognitively impaired, it will help them better understand the document because it will give a title and description for what's going on. So that's 508 compliance is what we were going with. So you can absolutely utilize that if that makes sense for your use case. I had mentioned this earlier on the call, but test mode, we allow, I believe, 50 tests per month or per subscription. I'll have to get you guys an exact number of that. But test mode equals Y. And I might as well throw this in just to show you guys. So all this other junk in here, though, I don't know if it's gonna like it. Let's just go ahead and see it, right? So if I put ampersand, space, quote, ampersand, one more quote, end. Let's see. Now this should write juice tech on a watermark across it, and you will only be able to preview it. So let's go ahead and see. So still asking for the password. You can see 1, 2, 3. And now you can see juice tech right across this as its test mode is on. So whether you want the watermark or not, test mode will throw the juice tech watermark on it, but you are allowed to do this and it will not cost you any transactions on our end. I recommend using this only in use cases where you're making either a new document or several changes to an existing document and you don't want to have those transaction counts run up. Again, I believe it is either 50 per month or 50 per subscription that you get with this. So please keep that in mind. And again, if you've made it on this call or you've listened long enough, that is something you deserve to know. So that's an option for you as well. So that's test equals Y. And again, this won't save to a file attachment field. This won't save to Amazon S3 or Dropbox or to a repository or make any updates to Quickbase. This is essentially just for testing, just so that you can see your end document without costing you a transaction. So definitely something if you're in kind of a testing phase or making new changes to a document, I recommend utilizing that. Fill out equals Y, just because I'm going down all of them at this point. Fill out equals Y is not used in most use cases. If you want to be able to make your PDF fillable, almost as if you're using PDF Stamper, you do need to have a legacy developer tab for Word. And within that Word legacy developer tab, you can use legacy forms, which are really like form fields, and you can actually edit those in the PDF. It's pretty cool, but I think if you're going to use this, I almost recommend going to PDF Stamper, which this is more of a default setting. So if that's something that interests you, definitely check out our other document generation tool, PDF Stamper, as it will likely be a better fit, but you please let us know. UID, upmap, we went over already. I already mentioned we're not going to go over the Amazon S3 parameters or the Dropbox parameters. We do have the merge parameters here, and these are interesting, but I don't have anything right now set up to merge. So I think I'm going to skip these for today. I think that could be a whole session in itself. And then again, we do have the PDF merger itself as well. That is a separate add-on where you can merge multiple different file extensions with just one click of a button, where this merger is only going to work with PDF. So it has to be multiple PDFs and then stored as a PDF, where PDF merger can take multiple different, maybe it's an email, Word document, PDF, Excel file, and a TXT file. It can take all of those together and merge it into one finished PDF. Very cool add-on, an underdog here for sure. So if you have any needs for kind of making finished packets, executive documents, stuff like that, that is a great use case for PDF merger. Again, all of these kind of go along with PDF merger, so I'm skipping all these down. Multiple record, again, that's more for PDF merger, and that's also something where we only allow this for 50 documents. So if you're going to do it for more than 50 documents, again, PDF merger is going to be the tool for you. Actually, I'm sorry, or the exact forms plus batch processor. The repository table, I think I'm actually going to go through this right now because we do have about another 18 minutes and I think I can get it all in. So let's see, race against time if I could do it, guys. No promises. All right, let's see. So for adding of the repository parameters, let's go through each individual one and how we're going to utilize it. So first off, repository equals y. We're definitely going to need that. So let me go ahead and ampersand quote repository equals y. Looks like I forgot another ampersand. Let's put that in. All right, so now we're saying repository equals y. I will copy this so we can get some formatting in there. Now we have the RP DBID repository table. So this is the DBID of the table you would like to save the document to. So actually that brings up a good point. Some of you may not even necessarily know what a repository table is. A repository table allows you to save your finished document in a place other than your master table. So say you have a documents table that you want to have this update to, which house one file attachment field, you can absolutely do it there without an issue. That's what I recommend. So let's see if I have another table. Let's see if I have a file attachment field on jobs. Let's just add a file attachment field here. All right. So file attachment field all set up here. This is going to be field ID 27. But let me take this DBID. So see how I got this from the URL at the top? It says DB slash and then the DBID to the question mark. That's important in this because that's essentially what we're using here. So it says RP DBID. That's the table ID in Quickbase. So I'm just going to hard code that in. Now we have our DBID. And then it's asking what field. So the key field for how the table is related to the master. Oh boy, I don't know if there's a relationship already. If the repository table is related to the PO table, should be the related PO field used here. So let's see, before I go any further, is quotes related to jobs. That I don't know. Jobs has many quotes. Ooh, okay. We'll give it a try. Field 24. No promises here. So let's see. So we have RPFID. Let's go ahead and RPFID 4. Let's see, we also need repository key field, master table, record ID. Okay, yep. So that's just going to be record ID. So let's see. We'll take that and let's pop it in there. Whoa, that's not what I did at all. Record ID. There we go. Let's do another enter. Let's see what the next one is we need. So now RP mode, this is a good one. It's asking if I wanted to add or update a record based off of what I'm doing here. So I'm going to go ahead and add because I think that's typically easier than update. If you have more than one record found, the last record will be the one that's modified. So, if a record is not found, it will be inserted. So that's interesting. So let's go ahead and still do add because I think that's going to be easier for people to understand. Percent RP equals A. Cool. And now RP mode is to identify the record to update. So we're not using that. So RP mode, this is only being used, these two, if you're using update. So we're going to skip these two because we don't necessarily want to do that. And let's see here. Oh, actually, sorry, Alexis, before, just because you actually said something, now I see we actually do have a way to do it. The parameter that you showed, user generating document, it will only show the last user, right? So what this actually allows you to do, it's really the same thing. RPUID allows you to update this other table with who generated it. So if you're doing add and you're including this, it'll actually tell you each time you generate that document, whom generated it. So that's actually an interesting one. So we do have that already. So you don't have to use a pipeline or anything. You would want to just use these repository parameters. So goes to show you, if you continue to read, you'll find more and more. And use to map additional fields in the repository table. So this is now saying, what field do I want to update besides the file attachment field? Now, where is the file attachment field though? File attachment field ID. So I already have this RPFAID. RPFAID. I guess I just skipped that one, guys. That's on me. Let's go ahead and make that. And that was, I believe, fields. Oh boy, something went wrong. Jobs. This was field 27. So let's go ahead. That to 27. All right, so now let's just kind of go through it one more time so we check off all the boxes. We have repository equals Y, which is good. We have RPDBID, which is the DBID of the jobs table. The RPFID, which if we double check that, the RPFID should be the key field. Now, no promises. It looks like we have the relationship backwards. One job has many quotes. So let's just see, it may not work because of that. Then we have the repository table file attachment ID, which we just identified as 27. So all we did was jump in with 27. We identified the key field from the master, which is just record ID. I always recommend that you keep your key field as record ID. And then the last thing we did was we updated the RP mode, which we're doing add. So we're just adding an additional file to additional record to that jobs table. So I believe we have all of that there. Let's take out that extra line. And out of curiosity, I will leave the doc PW in there. And let's see if I get an error. Okay, no error to start. All right, so there's my document. Looks good. Again, we still have test mode on, so just kidding. Repository is not going to work. All of that was just ignored. Let's take that out. And let's try again. Let's see. All right, so that was likely the case. So this is saying that field 24 can't be modified from this DBID. So let's go ahead and double check what 9AB is. And 9AB is the jobs table. And we can't modify that. So really we have to look at now. Let's take a look at what the potential relationship we can do here. Let's try it to the tasks table then. Let's try 19 on the tasks table, which Justin has hidden from me. Justin. Let's go ahead and show tasks on the table bar. Show in table bar. Right. There's my handy dandy tasks. Let's see. Do I have a file attachment field here? It does not look like I do. Let's click the add one. Right. So field 22. So let's go back into this formula. So now we have, this is field 19 and 22. So let's do this. Let's change. This is field 2. This one should be 19. And this is no longer going to be jobs. We're going to try it with tasks. Again, no promises, but this is what happens when you do it live. Let's try again. All right. That looks like a good sign. So we're back to office hours. So we know test mode didn't go in case. We can close that out. And let's go ahead and see from the tasks table if we have a new record. And we do. Oh my God. So happy. All right. And there you go. So now we have that quote saved to that task. So you were able to now go in And if I refresh this, what you actually should see is that this document was not regenerated, and it doesn't show the time anymore. I thought it did. But it was not regenerated at that time. At 2:32 was the last time I generated this. So there you go. Here's the EFP date time. 2:32 is the last generation, but you can see on this tasks table that it was generated again here, and that, if I put on the date created here, just for a little proof of concept, date created, you can see that this record was made at 2:51. So that's essentially what repository is doing for you. It's going to allow you to save to another record. Again, there is the ability to do the RP map, very, very similar to what we showed earlier, which I'm not going to show, which is that UP map. So this is for the updating the master table. This RP map is allowing you to update that repository table with additional information. And then again, similar to what Alexis had mentioned before, this RP UID would allow you to update the user as well. So now if you went to the tasks, or let's just imagine it's called the documents table, you'd be able to see all of the documents that were generated and whom it was generated by. So typically, again, this is just a simple documents table. But I believe that is all I have for you guys today, folks. I know I just threw a bunch of different parameters at you, and that's why I started this off with saying it was going to be a little bit more of an advanced session. Does anyone have any questions in these next 5 minutes that I can answer for you? I'd be more than happy to do my best to answer them. I know I threw a lot, again, at you guys today. All right. Well, no questions, I think, is a good thing. So I appreciate all of you guys' time today. If you're watching this video in the future and you have any questions, please feel free to contact support@juicetech.com. My name's Matt. We have Justin here, and we appreciate you guys' time today. Please join us again next week, 2 p.m. Eastern time, for more workflows and more help. And we'll be talking to you guys soon.